that we are not only looking at the upper echelon, we're looking at the base, the foundation. Politics don't start from being a minister and being a rep member or a senator. In year 2000, I was secretary to the local government then, and we had just one woman amongst us who was a supervisor. The women gang against her until she was removed and changed and replaced by a man. When I was local government chairman, it's only during my tenure that we had 2 women being a councillor, and I ensured that one of them was the leader of the house. When I left, they ensured that none of them returned again. And these are work of the women, not the men. We need to look at what are the reasons. It's not just, yes, women are not empowered. What are we doing? How many women senators are encouraging, even in their own ward, to ensure that it's a woman councillor that they have? How many women are comfortable with a woman in office? Ngozi, when she wanted to contest for the WTO headship, the presidency, everybody gave her the opportunity, gave her the support. Many other women, and I'm sure the beautiful women we have here, you've all been through thick and thin. And I don't think you can really say, yes, in any profession, there are oppositions. Like I was having a discussion with a woman, one of our members was having a PhD thesis, and she needed to, on this topic, and was interviewing some of us as part of our thesis. And we had a very big discussion, a very robust discussion on the issue of women in power. And at the end of the day, it was actually concluded that it's not much about the men. It's even more about women supporting women. And if we don't really look deep and face the area that we are supposed to correct and improve on, then we might just be chasing shadows. I want to inform you here today that on behalf of the Nigerian House of Reps, under the leadership of Right Honorable T.J. Abbas, we have concluded that a special seat will be given to women in every state. One special seat per state will be given to the women. I'm sure my brother said something about that. I feel during the last night assembly. I was in the house then, and it was the approach in building issues like this, consensus. You must approach issues like this. You must get lobbyists. You don't force it. They did something that day. The wife of the vice president was in the chamber during the deliberation, and the wife of the president was in this House of Senate, probably hoping that will make us change our mind. But it didn't work. But this time around, they didn't send anybody to come and intimidate. They worked the normal work. They did the groundwork. And even before the deliberation, the speaker came out, called members, and said, this time we are going to give it to them. And we all agreed. And you know, the speaker being a northerner, and that's the area that you might feel that the opposition will come from. And the speaker said, we are going to give it to them, and everybody agreed. So when it comes around this time around, it's going to be 100% support. I'm sure of that of the House of Reps, at least one member per state. That means you are not going to contesting against any man. So every party will present. In Lagos, we have 24, so it's going to be 25. That one special seat is going to be just for women. So any party that is going to win will be a woman. So I want us to start looking at how do we look at other areas that are confronting the women. And let me tell you, in Lagos State, for example, if you look at the civil service, most of the PAMSEC, there was a particular time, PAMSECs in Lagos that were women were like 75%. We started calling them Ilubinrin. And because let's trace back, like I said, the socio-cultural and religious aspect of these issues. Women are expected to take care of the home. So when you're a civil servant, you go to work in the morning, you drop your children at school. When you're coming back, when you close, you pick your children. So it was very convenient. And we must be fair with ourselves and be sincere. Our roles can never be changed. You can agree or disagree. It's there. And if we are not careful in trying to achieve something that we believe so much in, will destroy the main fabric, which is the role of women, keeping the children, keeping the home. When you call the woman the neck, you call yourself the neck when we call ourselves the head, that the neck controls the head. And let your control comes more positively. So as we try to ensure that you give you the support, because you have the numbers. Ladies, yes, we are trying to ensure that we get it right. Ladies, we are trying to ensure that you get it right. I said, I am the only one in my local government that not only ensured that women were part of my team, but was even the head. And up to now, no other one has come. I left in 2011. That was 14 years ago. So I'm talking practically. And if we have to make this thing work, we have to be objective and see ourselves as Africans and see as how it's going to work in our context. So many of us, we can continue to have the seminars, but if we are not doing the right thing, we won't get it. Today, we are talking here today, but I said by now the National Assembly have already done its own part. We can only do the legislation, but the work of the women is very important. You have the numbers. In fact, you should not be begging. You should not be asking. You have the numbers. If you want to win the presidency today, you have the numbers. Then what is happening? Then something's wrong. Then address the issue. So you have the numbers. Someone said, let me tell you something. Let me give this quick one. Someone told me, there was a day, someone was saying, if I have a woman contesting against me, I will get a woman as my campaign manager and I'll go to sleep. What does that mean? He said, if a woman is contesting against him, all he needs to get is a woman to be his own campaign manager and he will go to sleep. So we should be looking at the issues. If we want to get it done, and I'm sure on our own part, we are going to give you the support, the legislative support, to ensure that the Constitution gives you that extra 1 seat per state. That means if you still have the opportunity of even winning the majority, apart from the extra 1 seat. Not that you'll be restricted to that 1 seat. You have opportunity of contesting in your various local government, plus 1 that must be there. That is in the National Assembly, in the House of Reps, there will be at least 37 members, plus whatever you are able to get added to it. So this is a very uncommon opportunity that we have provided, and I want to use this opportunity to thank the Right Honorable Speaker. Is a he for she, and is leading the House, and they call the House of Reps is now being called the House of he for she, and coming from someone like him, from his background, that shows that this advocacy for women gender is actually.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to invite His Excellency Johnny Baxter, Deputy High Commissioner, British High Commission. Welcome, sir.
very much. Thank you. And if you'll allow me to stand on existing protocols. This is the point where my team might get a bit nervous because I'm about to leave most of my script. So the first thing to say is I'm now the third man standing from this stage. That's something to think about, and something that I feel a bit embarrassed about. But on the other hand, as was said, he for she, this can't be an issue just for women. It has to be an issue for men as well. And so I hope that what you're getting from having some men on the stage is a sense of support, but also I hope that as we go on, and obviously I think as we have the discussion, we're going to have many more women speaking, and I think those are the voices we really want to hear. I am, however, delighted to be part of this event, marking the official launch of the Side by Side Niger campaign. Over the years, and still today, the UK has been an advocate and a supporter, often behind the scenes, for women's political empowerment in Nigeria. And that is why we were pleased to see the recent appointment as Speaker in the Lagos State Assembly. Women's political empowerment is important because it leads to a more inclusive society that accelerates growth and prosperity. Women constitute half of the Nigerian population, and so it's important that women are in decision-making processes, making policies that deliver good governance and sustain the gains of democracy. And yet, as we've just heard, women are not in these places in large enough numbers yet. And in the words of our MC, Nigeria is a house half built. Women's participation in politics not only advances gender equality in various ways, but it also affects the range of policy issues that get considered and the solutions proposed. There is strong evidence that as more women are elected to office, there is an increase in policy making that reflects the priorities of families, women, and minorities. In other words, much more of the population. And we've seen compelling evidence from other countries that introducing quotas to increase women's representation in Parliament yields results. That is why we stand side by side with and support the Nigerian government and the citizens of Nigeria to move this agenda forward. Because women, as we can see so clearly in this room, play such a significant and prominent role in every other sector in Nigeria. The role of the media in amplifying positive messaging and of prominent personalities from various social, political and economic spheres in making their voices heard on this still challenging issue cannot be overstated. And that is why we attach so much importance to today's event and to the Side by Side Niger campaign. Please be assured of our commitment to support this issue. We will continue to stand with you as you progress towards men and women standing side by side in the political realm. And I want to thank all of you in this room for the work that you do in so many different ways to deliver that objective. Thank you.
I would also like to invite the Program Technical Coordination Specialist of the UN Women, Mr. Zeph Aura. A round of applause for him, please.
Another man from UN Women. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here on behalf of our country representative, Madam Beatrice Ayong, who is a woman, a very powerful woman, passionate about women leadership. Excellencies, honorable members, please allow me to stand on the already established protocol. I will be reading this speech on behalf of my boss, Madam Beatrice Ayong. I am delighted to be part of this important event that is designed to contribute to supporting gender-responsive constitutional reform conversation. I want to appreciate the sterling role played by the organizers of this event, our partner KDI, and our veteran celebrity, Mama Joke Silva, in putting this together. I further want to acknowledge the demonstrated commitment from the people and the government of Canada and the government of United Kingdom in advancing the plight and aspiration of the Nigerian women and girls. I want to assure you, Your Excellencies, that your taxpayers' money is making a big difference in promoting inclusivity agenda in this great nation. As we shall be enlightened shortly, and again the data out there speaks the same language, Nigeria can do better, especially if its leaders and citizens take advantage of the current constitutional moment to infuse progressive provisions in the Constitution to address the long period of underrepresentation of women in leadership and political processes. The performance of your elected leaders in Abuja in this space is commendable. There is already positive discussion at the National Assembly in favor of establishment of reserved seats for women at the national and state assemblies. More deliberation is, however, needed to extend similar consideration for the executive appointments across the Federation. Your leaders need to hear more voices, and this is where you as celebrities come in. As key actors and influencers in this important conversation, it is in this town hall presents you with an opportunity to examine and explore areas where you may make an impact. We do congratulate those of you who are already prioritizing the campaign in your contents and posts. While the country may not have recorded huge gender gains, you have made commendable progress in using creative art to push the needle, and you should not take your feet off the gas. This is a sure way of supporting Nigeria to accelerate its pathways to the achievement of sustainable development goals, especially SDG 5, which is central and critical in attainment of all SDGs. We therefore call upon you all to continue using your platforms, networks, and connection to amplify the side-by-side campaign aimed at galvanizing national support on increasing the number of women in elective and appointive positions across the Federation through the ongoing constitutional reform. Thank you.
Oh, that was interesting. Thank you very much, sir. We're about to be done with breakfast before we enter the main dish. But before then, I would lastly like to call on our donor, the government of Canada, just arrived, and we'll just be giving him, the representative, a brief, just a little time to just, speak to us briefly. I'd like to invite Mr. Iran Talab Tehrani, Counselor and Head of Development Corporation, Canadian High Commission. A round of applause for him, please. Hopefully I didn't order your name.
No, that's all right. No, you've said it great. Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It's true that I'm a man, but hey, I've been the gender champion for all throughout my life. So, I'm among friends, yes. Good morning, my name is Arash Irantalab, and I'm the head of development cooperation here at the Canadian High Commission in Abuja. So we're here in Lagos as your guests. Thank you for having us here, and I sincerely appreciate the invitation to participate in this important dialogue. I also want to commend each one of you for your presence here and commitment to advancing gender equality and increasing women's political participation here in Nigeria. Today, we stand together united in one voice to amplify the call for greater inclusion of women in Nigerian politics. Our collective goal is clear. To garner broad-based support and take decisive action towards the passage of Special Seats Bill. As we all know, the underrepresentation of women in politics has far-reaching implications for sustainable development, good governance, and inclusive decision-making. Unfortunately, Nigeria continues to face significant challenges in this regard. The numbers speak for themselves. In 2023 elections, women made up of only 10.2% of the total candidates. Out of 18 presidential candidates, only one was a woman. Candidates were women. In the House of Representatives, women comprised just 288. State level, only 1,049 women contested out of the 10,232 candidates. The governor race was no exception, with just 26 women out of the 419 candidates. Despite Nigeria's 35% affirmative action commitment, since 1999, women have held less than 7% of elective and appointed positions, well below the African regional average of 23%. And the global average of 22%. Canada is committed to gender equality and women's empowerment as a core pillar of its feminist international assistance policy. A key priority of this policy is supporting women's political participation. Through the Advanced Project, Women's Political Participation here in Nigeria with UN Women, Canada is working alongside partners to change the narrative and increase the presence of women in Nigeria's political arena. This initiative focuses on strengthening the legal and policy environment to enhance gender responsiveness in governance and increasing women's participation in political process and leadership roles. This is through several initiatives such as mentorship and capacity building. This is through creating an enabling environment and enhancing electoral security, and through engaging traditional leaders and religious leaders, in addition to leveraging media and gender-responsive coverage. Distinguished guests, the time for rhetoric is over. It is time for action. I urge everyone here today to be a champion for change. We must work collectively to improve Nigeria's ranking in women's political participation, both regionally and globally. Increase and meaningful participation of women in politics, it's not just about gender parity. It's all about unlocking national progress. When women lead, societies thrive, economies grow, and democracy flourishes. I am confident that today's discussion will inspire concrete steps towards securing the passage of the Special Seats Bill and ensuring a more inclusive and equitable political landscape in Nigeria. Let us stand side by side to make this vision a reality. Thank you so much.
Men should please give their support so that this happens. And when it happens, it is for the benefit of all. So women's inclusion does not only benefit women, it benefits entire families, entire communities, and the entire nation. One of the things I need to say as we move ahead is that Nigeria is a signatory to several international covenants that provide for inclusion, gender equality, and social inclusion. And as part of accountability to those covenants that we have signed, we need to make the effort. We need to redress long years of women's exclusion. All of the 17 SDGs require gender equality to be achieved. When the SDGs were established, we thought we had a long time to work towards them. This is 2025. And in 5 years' time, we will give account. And scholars have told us that without gender equality, it is impossible to achieve the SDGs. So gender equality is a development issue. That is why the SDGs assigned a specific result to the issue of gender equality. We have moved beyond cross-cutting. Cross-cutting is good. It cross-cuts into all the 17 SDGs. But it is also a standalone goal. And no nation will develop until the women are included. You know, when you have men and women in a society, and only one, of the sexes is dominant in leadership, it's like attempting to clap with one hand, and it is not possible. So everybody, what we do when you exclude women is you deny the country the potentials of these women. Their contributions to development are denied. And those contributions are not just only contributions, through the income they even bring into the family or the society. It is also contributions from the income they save the family. So people look at women as, fit for the domestic work. If you calculate the cost of domestic work, and that's why the UN is very big on care work, because it is that care work that gives rise, that makes productive work possible. So you cannot discount it. So those of us who are working, we do care work, we also do productive work. And before you know it, we also do community work, and that's why we talk about the triple load of women. The triple load of women. Well, we don't have much time. Let me not go too deep, because I get emotional sometimes when I talk about these issues. So one question we need to ask ourselves is Nigeria committed to inclusion? And I will say yes. Because when we look at our constitution, it talks about non-discrimination on the basis of sex, ethnicity, and all kinds of things. That is a commitment. Our constitution is the highest law of the land. I know that there are clauses in the constitution that also discriminate against the girl child, all right? So when the constitution says every girl that is married shall be deemed an adult, that has been taken very far. People interpret it in various ways to mean that the constitution permits child marriage. And it's no wonder, therefore, that Nigeria has the highest rate of child marriage in West Africa, because that is subject to various kinds of interpretation. But today we're here to talk about women's inclusion. Apart from the Constitution, we also have a national gender policy. And by the way, people need to understand that the first gender policy that started in 2006 provided for 35% affirmative action. Behind. There has been a big win. On the 10th of March, I happen to be one of those who has supported the National Assembly to craft a gender equity and social inclusion strategy. It's a revised strategy. So we had one in the last 10 years, which people didn't know about, parliamentarians did not know about it. And then the Nigerian Institute for I hope I got it right. NILS, right? Nigeria Institute for Development Studies. I'm sorry if I messed that up. Commissioned us to update that strategy, and that was supported by the MacArthur Foundation. I need to mention that. Why do I say it's a big win? Because it appears that parliaments hold the ace to inclusion. Whatever advocacy has not been able to achieve in the last 100 years, one law will achieve it in one election cycle. So if the Electoral Act is amended, for example, and it says that every political party must nominate, in their nomination list must have X% of women and X% of men, that settles it. And it does not lead to mediocrity like people are afraid. You know, that if we come up with the issue of reserved seats, then you just pick any woman, and we're not doing it on merit. There are qualified women in Nigeria. Actually, Nigeria has some of the most intelligent women that you can think of in the world. The Deputy Secretary General of the UN is a Nigerian woman from the north. You know, the DG of WTO is a Nigerian woman. Nigerian women have played key roles within and outside the country. And you can't tell me that if you have a position to give to a woman, you will not find a qualified woman. Therefore, you are afraid of mediocrity. No, it is not possible. It is merit-based affirmative action. And every state in Nigeria has a qualified woman. One of the arguments that we make when it comes to women's participation and inclusion is the fact that in our constitution, there is the federal character principle. Why do we have that enshrined in the constitution? Because we know that Nigeria is more like a conglomeration of various nations. You have various geopolitical zones. If we did not have a federal character principle, some parts of the country may be left behind in governance. So we put that there to ensure that we don't forget that some people are from the south-south, we don't forget some people are from the southeast, or from the northwest, or from the northeast, and all of that. In the same vein, in the same spirit, we are saying that Nigeria also has a gender character. 50% of men, 50% of women, if you like, say 49.3% of women, but it's about 50-50. The problem is that nobody has paid attention to Nigeria's gender character. And I must also say that when it comes to youth inclusion, we are also in that same trouble. Nigeria has the highest youth population in the world. Yet, we look at youth and say, these ones are too young. What do they know? No wonder youth came together to fight for the Not Too Young to Run Act. And they won. And by the 2023 election, we understand that almost 30 beneficiaries of that act, you know, we can point to today, because at their age, by the former constitution, they could not have had the opportunity to run for offices. But because the age limit was reduced, those young ones were able to run, and they won their seat. So whatever we're doing here, it may take a very long time. Some of us are actually getting tired, but we're not giving up until the right thing is done. Because it's like the more you try, you take 2 steps forward. If you are not careful, you are taking 2 other steps backwards. A lot of statistics have been reeled out. I'm going to spare you all that. If you look on your table, you will find some charts that have infographics that talks about some statistics. But I just want to draw your attention to the fact that SDG 5 talks about achieving gender equality, you know, everywhere, empowering women and girls everywhere. And one of the indicators for measuring how well a nation is doing is proportion of women in parliament. So if you want to know how well Nigeria is doing in terms of SDG 5, check the number of women in parliament. In the 10th Assembly, let me even start from the 9th Assembly. In the 9th Assembly, in the House of Representatives that has 360 seats, we had 13 women. 13 over 360. That's how poorly we were doing in the 9th Assembly. In the 10th Assembly, there is a marginal increase to 17. I think we lost 1 person, so we now have 16 out of 360. In Senate, we have 109 seats. In the 9th Assembly, we had 8 women, 8 over 109. Today, in the 10th Assembly, we have 4 women. So we have moved back. And I'm wondering, the advocacy of many years, where has it fetched us? You know, at the end of the day, we're not doing well. Let me just put it that way. Even compared to other African countries, compared to Ghana, our next door neighbor, compared to Sierra Leone, compared to Senegal. Actually, Senegal has the highest number of women in parliament in West Africa today. And that's because they have what we call a gender parity law. So that's a quota. And so when Nigerian women are scrambling for quotas, it's not as if we are crazy. A study by the Interparliamentary Union tells us that out of 54 countries that were assessed for the number of women in parliaments in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria ranked number 54. 54 out of 54th out of 54. That's how embarrassing it is. And when we presented this NAS justice strategy on the 10th of March, Senator Ireti Kingibe actually stood up to say it's been an embarrassment that they go for international conferences and you see our smaller neighbors making caricature of us. As a nation, we say we are the giant of Africa, but we are not showing the example that the giant should show to the younger ones. So there's a problem. Now let me shock you again. When it comes to women in state parliaments, in the 9th assembly, we had 15 states with no woman, 0. In the 10th assembly right now, we have 13 states with no woman in parliament. Abia, so that you don't think it's a northern phenomenon. Abia, Bauchi, Borno, Gombe, Imo, Jigawa, Katsina, Kano, Kebbi, Osun. Let me scream. Sokoto, Yobe, Zamfara, no woman in parliament. But there have been pockets of progress, and those pockets of progress show to us that it is possible. So as we speak, Kwara State actually leads the pack when it comes to women's inclusion. All right, they are number 1. Women occupy 5 out of 24 seats, including a legislator under the age of 30. Ekiti State also is not doing badly. Deputy governor, secretary to the state government, head of service, accountant. These women, alongside 33 councillors, 7 local government chairpersons, and 15 vice chairpersons. Now, why are women marginalized? Like I said before, it is not a lack of qualification. You know how many girls were beating you in class? Is that not so? So it's not a lack of qualification. We have qualified women. But there has never been a level playing field. And that's because as far back as 1922, when election was introduced in Nigeria, the Constitution, the Clifford Constitution of 1922, excluded women from political participation. In fact, the qualification for participation was that you had to be a male who is 21 years and above, and you have to be a person who has an annual income of £100. That was the qualification by Constitution. So women were not allowed by Constitution, and that's the law of the land. And then, of course, they kept reducing that until the early 1950s, when women in the southeast and southwest were allowed to vote for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, women in the north of Nigeria were not allowed by Constitution to vote until 1979. At my age, that's like yesterday, 1979. So you do not expect that people who just got into the system recently will also know because politics is a very interesting game. There are secrets of the game. And before women were allowed, some people had hijacked the political parties, just like a boys' club, you know, and you have to either be their friend. I know people in the National Assembly who, just because their fathers were part of the owners of the party, are rolled over every year. Rolled over every year. You know, so that's where we find ourselves. So women are not at the same level. When it comes to that political playing field, women have face a lot of barriers. It's only a simplistic mind that will think, who is stopping women from contesting? If they don't contest and they don't win, why are they asking for reserved? What we are asking for is a redress of an injustice that has taken place. And there's no way that you will leave this to chance and say, by one way or another, or organically, women will get into, it will take another 200 years. Unless something spectacular is done about it. So let me move to, some people ask the questions, what are the benefits of women participation? In fact, even I'm coming from a different training, where a high-ranking officer was asking, must women be at the decision table? And I said yes. Because if women are not there, there are issues that will be missed out. If youth are not there, if persons inclusion brings diverse perspectives to development. Reference, you know, that for the family, because they bring family issues to the table. One example is in India, when a study was carried out of pancreas projects in both men, 2% more water projects than the men. Men use water. And when a woman is on the floor of the Senate, she's thinking, how can children get into school? How do we get water projects so that we have clean drinking water? Medically speaking, when a family loses its mother, the chance that the newborn baby will die is higher. Because she nurtures, you know, and she brings that nurturing mind to the floor of the Senate. For many men, I'm sorry, I'm not saying that you don't do the right thing. We have great dads too. My dad was a great dad. But for many men, when they get financial empowerment, they marry more wives. Laugh now, I was joking now. Wow. You people are too serious. You guys are too serious. But what I'm just trying to say is that I've worked for organizations whose slogan was, when women move forward, the world moves with them. When a mother moves forward, the family cannot go to, even the husband will not go to bed hungry. I know there are some wicked women today, but they're in the minority. When you empower a woman, you empower the family, you empower the entire nation and the entire community. So we are where we are today because we have failed to include women. What is the cost of exclusion? There are many. There's no time to talk about all of them. But one of the things that scholars have also agreed is that women's political inclusion is smart economics. It is smart economics, and the McKinsey Global Institute conducted a study where they did some form of economic modeling, and they came up with a report that exclusion of women from governance costs Nigeria up to $90 billion in GDP growth. In GDP growth. So you can imagine what we are losing, the economic situation we are in right now. It won't go away until women become key players in the economy alongside their men. So we are not saying take away men from leadership. We are saying women deserve a seat at the table. Now, how do we fast track women's representation? Globally and regionally, the trends show to us that quotas are effective vehicles to compensate. Let's get that key word. We need to compensate for the long years of exclusion and long years of marginalization. And to do that, you know, I don't know how all of us must have gone through primary or secondary school where you did a field event, let's say a 400-meter race, and you have like 3 or 4 tracks. Have you ever seen where they arrange all runners at the same level when you are doing a field event like that? No. The person in the inner level is always at the back, inner circle is always at the back. The person at the farmost end is in front. That's a calculated distance. That is affirmative action to say the person in the inner circle has a shorter distance to run. The person in the outer circle has a wider distance to run, and therefore you compensate by moving forward. Quotas are meant for compensation for the long years of marginalization that women have faced. Yes. And there are various types of quotas. I'm not going to go a long way into them, but there are reserved seats in constitution or in electoral laws. Uganda uses that. Republic of Benin uses that. Kenya uses that. Rwanda is actually the leader in the world because in their lower house, right now they have 61%, you know, of women in parliament. Tanzania uses that. Then there's the legal candidate quotas where political parties nominate a certain minimum. Like I said before, law will achieve for you what advocacy has failed to achieve in more than 100 years. If INEC or the National Assembly rolls out an electoral law that says by 2027, every party, when you nominate your candidates, have 30% or 35%, you know, of women on the list alongside men, all the parties will comply, because if you do not comply, you are disqualified. Your list will be ignored. It's as simple as that. And let's also remember, I was going to talk about that. I said the National Gender Policy of 2006 provided for 35% affirmative action. The current one, the successor one, provides for 50-50 affirmative action. We never achieved 35%. Now we have 50-50. Senegal is where it is today because of that 50-50 parity. It is not impossible. It's a question of commitment. Commitment by the leaders, commitment by especially parliamentarians, because they are the lawmakers. If parliamentarians are committed to that and they make the law, this will reverse all the years that we have fought, all the years that we have shouted, and by 2027, we'll have a different picture, having more women in parliament. Then there's the voluntary political party quotas, where the political party decides on their own that we're going to ensure that on our list, we have adequate number of women and men. And that happens right now in Norway, in Sweden, in South Africa. I'm going to go quickly to round up now. I know my time is up. But we're not going to forget quickly that the history of women's inclusion, has been that of rejection of bills. We submit bills. So you remember the 5 bills that were submitted to the National Assembly during the last exercise of constitutional review, to create additional special seats for women, to reserve 35% of party leadership positions for women, reserve 35% appointive positions. When people say, what stops women? I also wonder, if the women contested and they did not win, what stopped the governor from appointing women into those positions? What stopped the president? Our current president has a renewed hope agenda that promised 35% affirmative action for women. We have only achieved 17%. And by next year, we are thinking of campaign for 2027. Nobody is thinking governance anymore. So how can we keep quiet? And how is that fair to anybody? The other bill was allow women become indigents of their husband's state after 5 years of marriage for the purpose of running for office, and then allow women confer Nigerian citizenship on their foreign spouses, just like the Constitution allows men to confer Nigerian citizenship. You see how your Constitution discriminates against women? If you are a Nigerian man and you marry a non-citizen, the person automatically becomes Nigerian. But as a woman, if I marry a British man, he does not automatically become Nigerian by constitution. By constitution. How is that fair? So we are excited that the House of Reps has come back to look at the reserve seat bill. That's the right thing to do. I think we should put our hands together for them. Oh yes, because it's an entry point. But let me tell you what happened in 2022. Since 2020, Nigerian women had sued the government to court, working with our daddy Falano, to say, your gender policy says 35%, you have never achieved it, what's going on? And we won. And we celebrated. But guess what happened? The then Attorney General of the Federation appealed the judgment. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. The Nigerian gender policy, adopted by cabinet, says 35% affirmative action. They never allowed it. And then we went to court and we won. And the Attorney General of the Federation appealed against a policy document of Nigeria. That's how committed, unquote, we are to the issue of affirmative action. So I'm going to round up by talking a little on the reserve seats. I'm not going to, I know that there is a session that is going to talk about it. But let me mention that I've heard grumblings in several quarters about the challenges of reserve seats. When you talk about reserve seats, you say, we will give it to you, give it to you. It's not yours to give, please. Yes, it's not yours to give. We are Nigerians. We are intelligent women, just like intelligent men. We are demanding our rights. Just like we ask the people who colonized us for reparations, we are asking for reparations. You have left us behind for too long and we are making a demand. And when you accept, we'll clap for you. But please don't make it look like we're begging for it. Please. So people think that it will lead to a bloated government. Where is Nigeria going to get money? Yes, I agree with you. There will be a marginal increase in expenditure But compare that to the extensive financial drain caused by systemic corruption. It is not the inclusion of women that is going to drain Nigeria. Our money has been missing for a long time. You know, and it was not women, you know, it was not women in government that caused that one. Let's take note. We need to sit up and manage our resources better. And we have over-bloated portfolios. You make somebody a senator, you have 200 aides. Some are in your village, they don't come to work, but they are getting salary from Nigerian government. That has to stop. That is the problem. So finally, I'm going to speak to my dear celebrities in the house. I'm so privileged. I actually sat on their table. I felt like a celebrity. Yes, one of the things that we need to do. The fact is that celebrities are very important. Filmmakers are very important. Musicians are very important. Even skit makers are very important. Is that not Worry Peking where they see for this? They are all very important. Content creators. The problem is many content creators and filmmakers actually roll over the patriarchal oppression of women. So you're watching a movie and you see them doing those things that we are trying to say, no, that shouldn't be. You know, I remember the day I met Auntie Joke at ex-Governor Kayode's birthday. We sat together by a stroke of luck for me, all right? And we got talking and I asked her, do you remember your movie, Twins of the Rainforest? What happened in that movie? They had a twin. Incidentally, she was acting with her husband, you know, as her husband in the movie. They had a twin. And in that culture, twins were to be sacrificed to the gods. And their son took the twins and hid them in the forest. Finally, brought the mother, and the mother started breastfeeding the twins. They had to relocate. So they saved those twins. That is how a movie should be. Challenge stereotypes. You are a skit maker. Use your skit to challenge stereotypes, to promote equality, so that at the end of the day, you know, when people watch, because those things are very emotive. Somebody like me, I like detective films. The problem I have with detective films is that after watching it, I suspect everybody. So I have to always ensure that I don't watch too much because everybody becomes suspect. You know, because you can't trust anybody anymore. That's what films do to you. And music does that to you too. Let your music not just be your waist is all I want. Are you kidding? What happened to God to Win? Like that's my little boy at that time. You know how that music resonated with both Christians, Muslims, and everybody. When you write your script, can you ensure that that is a medium? So if we converge our efforts together, filmmakers are doing something to challenge stereotypes, skit makers, comedians, they're saying things that challenge stereotypes. Before you know it, the atmosphere will be agog. And parliament, we have no choice. And we have supporters in parliament, not just women, we have male supporters in parliament. So I'm not saying that parliament is against us, not at all. We have male supporters. It's just that we need more supporters in parliament to make things happen. So ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a last story and I'll close. My daughter works in London after her master's and she got her first job and got her first salary. And then she called me and said, Mommy, I read in your book, I write novels, okay? I read in your book that in our culture, the first salary belongs to parents. I want to send money to you and Daddy. Of course, she didn't give me all the money. Oh. She needs it now, eh? She sent me £100, sent her father £100 because she read it in my book. Do you see how your book, your film, your music, your skit can be a socializing agent? And those of you in the media, you need to create space to discuss these issues where we converge our energies together. You reach millions of people, even outside of the country. They watch your movies outside of the country. You are going to be contributing your own piece to ensuring that there is inclusion in Nigeria. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Wow. Yo, this is so beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We appreciate you, Dr. Otive. We appreciate you so much. That was such a very insightful, knowledgeable, and enlightening presentation. Wow. Okay. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Ejiro Otive. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll be moving to the main dish of today, and we'll be spending just some minutes. So I would like to invite our panelists for this segment to the stage here so we can begin. I'll start by inviting Mrs. Obuks Ibru, former House of Representative, aspirant 2023 elections. She's an entrepreneur and a relentless advocate for women's inclusion in politics. Welcome, ma. Next would be Honorable Adebayo Balogun, member, House of Representative and Chairman, House Committee on Electoral Matters. I'd also like to invite Mrs. Agatha Amata, veteran media entrepreneur, talk show host, TV presenter, and philanthropist. She is dedicated to amplifying women's voices in Nigeria and in the world. I'd also like to invite Mrs. our dear, she knows, our dear, beautiful, renowned Nigerian actress, Mrs. Joke Silva. She's also a director, a businesswoman, and she's passionate about women's advocacy. Our beautiful moderator for this session is no other than... Okay, should I call you last? Yeah. Our beautiful moderator for this session is Mrs. Adesua Onyenokwe. She's a communication coach, editor-in-chief, and media strategist. She's also committed to shaping narratives for women empowerment. And last but not the least, and also importantly, is Honorable Adebo Edward Ogundoyin.
Hello. Right. It's 12 noon by my watch. Is that correct? Okay, so this is the hour. Some people call it the witching hour. But it's also instructive that we're going to discuss something that's truly important. Some numbers just hit my head. 90 billion naira being lost annually in our GDP because our houses have built. We've dropped in number of representation in the House of Assembly, in the Senate. And this advocacy has been going on forever. As Ejiro Dr. Otive Ibuzo clearly stated, the statistics are there. We have not just started talking. What have we done wrong? What are we doing wrong? And I think Kimpact Initiative deciding along with the UN Women to say, let's talk to the celebrities, the opinion molders and shapers in the world today. Maybe they're not getting the right information. Maybe they don't realize how valuable it is and how much change it can cause. Look at Twins of a Forest. Maybe, whatever it is, or maybe we are not hearing the right things. So it's a pleasure to be anchoring this session today. My name remains Adesuwa Onyenokwe.
Yeah, I wanted that to go along. It helps, you know, the saliva in the mouth. And I intentionally arranged us this way. We wanted to sandwich the men. They almost, you know, Honorable Balogun, they almost crucified you when you use the word give them. You know, as a communications coach, I know that words carry meaning, but I know that's not from his heart. He used the word give without realizing what impact that would have. So he was saying give, not that give because don't deserve it. So I don't want to waste time talking too much. We are going to address 3 areas. Why and are women being excluded? The experience of women on the field, how does it affect them? What does the law really say? But what's most important to me is what will we do about it? Before the what we'll do about it will be, if the law says so, what does the hashtag side by side, what does the special bills seek to do? What should we be telling them to do there? So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start first. And look, I'm starting at extreme right. Not because she's the lightest person in the house, but because she has done the ruffle, what we will call ruffle. She's been in the trench fields and she's not giving up. She's running again for the House of Assembly. Would you say, Obooks, we call you Obooks, but Obooks is an abbreviation. You'll explain to, yes, Obooks, you see, Obooks should have been taking your seat, that seat that you're sitting, from her state. But she didn't get there. What happened? Would you agree that women have been excluded? And if that's a problem. And quite frankly, let's agree on the ground rules. We are not going to do more than a maximum of 3 minutes if anybody's speaking, so that others can go. Thank you, Brooks. You go first.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Or should I say good afternoon? My name is Obukome Ibru. I'm from Delta State. I'm a producer, and I did run for the House of Representatives seat in my constituency, which is Ugeli North, Ugeli South, and Udu. My hashtag is SMILE, and my mission is to make the people of my constituency smile again, give them a reason to smile again. I would say yes, women have been marginalized in the political space. It was a great experience, I would say. It was my first time out, but at the same time it was sad because there was a clear gang up of ensuring that I didn't get that ticket to go to the House. And it was sad for me because the mission was real. And I think most of the people in my area knew that the mission was real, but their hands were tied and they just had to follow the leadership and the instructions they were given, which all came to the fore. Confessions came out after the whole, you know, wahala. But you know what? We're going back. I'm going back again, and we will get it this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Books, for that. I would like to go to my left. And do you know why I'm going to my left? My immediate left. Honorable Adebayo. Adebo. Okay. Honorable Adebo. Okay, you're a young man, clearly, and we can see the difference. You know, the not too young to run bill achieved a lot of progress, correct? Yes. Would you say you're one of those that probably benefited from that? And as you answer that, the reason you're also speaking to the question of women being excluded, right? I want you to speak to that. So do you agree that if there's a special case done, we can change the situation if you believe there's been exclusion?
Well, let me start by commenting on what you said. For every politician, there's always a gang up against a politician.
Male or female?
Male or
So
female.
gang up exists, guys.
Yes. So it doesn't matter whether you're male or whether you're female. You must persevere and be persistent in your cause, in your purpose, and in what you're trying to achieve at all times, whether you're male, whether you're female. On the other hand, the not too young to run. I came into the House of Assembly at 31. I was elected Speaker at 32. Yeah, not really applause, I think. Yeah, I came into Speaker as the youngest Speaker elected at the time. And what I realized was that my story inspired a lot of other people. And Yaga did a good job at the time. By 1.2 convergence, we had in Abuja. We had the 2.2 as well, where they gathered a lot of young people together and also showcased other young people that were being successful in politics. So I got into office before the Not Too Young to Run bill was passed. And then I was kind of also used along with other youth as a poster boy for that campaign. So it wasn't just given to the youth. You know, it was something that we came together along with Sam Senitodo, who was the chairman of the YAGA at the time, and other young people, to ensure that we push this narrative across board. And what I also did to ensure that, you know, because there are some intangible things that we can do that is not really a bill, that is not really a policy, but just to lead by example. In Oyo State House of Assembly, for example, when I got in the 8th Assembly, we found out that a lot of other youth, over 12 youth under 40, contested the 2019 elections and won the elections because they were inspired by my story. I'm not trying to give, because all glory belongs to God, right? So the truth is that for this other agenda, right, I call this an agenda also because ours, for the youth too, was as an agenda. I want to encourage Side by Side and other women groups and other civil society groups and other NGOs and, you know, to gather yourselves together, right, as one. Have conferences, call about, if possible, 1,000 people that have interest in politics. Do we know these people? Are they interested in the councillorship? Are they interested in local government? Are you having these conversations? Or are we just having the conversations and then after having this sort of seminar, we go home and relax? So these are the things that we have to push these women. We have to inspire them because on the day-to-day struggles, we will not be there with them. Another point that I would like to make is the percentage of women that are actually interested in political office. You know, because you need to increase that quota so that you can have a better result. The more women that contest in politics, then the more, you know, results you get from that also. And then, you know, the inspiration aspects, the women that are in politics already doing their thing have to also come out to show themselves and the points of inspiration to other women that are looking to get into that space so that they know that it is possible, you know.
Fantastic. The poster boy for Not Too Young to Run. I don't know who's going to be the poster girl for hashtag Side by Side or getting women more in the seats. And so I'm going to go to you. I call her Sis J. Some people have called her Mama Joke. Some people have called her everything, but she is not just a director and an actress, but she's a strong advocate for women's movement and advancement. And I know you have friends, you know people who've tried to get on the seat and haven't gotten there. And Honorable Adebo said something very specific about showcasing. And you are in the industry, you are responsible for ensuring that as many celebrities as possible came. Hello, celebrities. Raise your hand and let's wave to you now. All of you. The Forum for Women in Film and Television and All Screen, right? So I want you to speak to what he's just talked about, showcasing and how that may highlight some of the problems that we have. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much, Adesua. First of all the women who came here from Women in Film, put up your hand. What happened? Adesua was asking you to put up your hands. There's so many of you here because of Women in Film and TV and other screen media. You are occupying so many tables and you refuse to raise your hands. Put your hands up. They're all there. You're in all the tables. Come on. Thank you. If you're in the media. So I think some of us are weary of that title of celebrity because we're not part of the glitz and the glam, but we are the ones that tell the stories. Those are the women that have been brought into the room, the women that tell the stories. Now, to your question, Adesua, showcasing. Showcasing comes about when you understand what the issues are. If you were listening when Ejuru was talking today, you found that she was saying things and people were like, What? No, that's not true, because a lot of times people do not have the information. If they had the information, then the story will change. One of the things that she did mention is the fact that sometimes the stories are told in such a way that it reinforces patriarchy because the women don't know. I mean, because the writers, let's put it like that, it's not necessarily women. The writers do not know that that is what they are doing. Okay? So it is when you know what the issues are, and I will use two examples of work that I have done in the last couple of years. One of them is a project called Hear Word. Hear Word has gone to several continents, has gone to Europe, has gone to America, has been to several countries around Africa. Yes, and the producer of Hear Word and part writer of Hear Word, Ifoma Fafo, I don't do this, stand up, they don't know. There are many, you see, that is part of our issue. We will not stand up and be recognized. Yes, that's Ifoma Fafo. Now, why do I bring up Hear Word? What Hear Word does is that it brings out several women's issues, and it celebrates women. It shows where women have been part of the problem, but it also shows how women have brought about the solution. And something very instructive happened when we performed in America. Before the Me Too campaign happened, we had already, we had already started our own performance, so that within the audience in America, I'll never forget this older woman. She raised her hand. She said, you women seem to understand what the issues are. Please, can you help us with our own Me Too campaign? You have brought out solutions to your own issues. Can you help us? How do we galvanize our own women to solve our own issues? That was the power of that production. Another one that I did, yes, this was in Yoruba, called Owuro Lojo, in which the female sexuality was examined. When we did it at that time, women used to they would record it, because we were recording on VHS at the time. They would record the program and keep it for their children, for their children when they got back from school, from university, and ask them to watch it. That this is what we have been talking about. So why do I mention that? It is the fact that everybody who has been invited in this room, you have so much power. Power to change the paradigm. Let us have a paradigm shift. And that comes, again, I go to the side by side. That comes from understanding what the issues are. We need to have more workshops with our constituency to give them the information that is necessary, so that this constitution amendment cycle, this bill must not fail. Because you people, you all are here. Each one gets one, to make sure that we make it resounding nationally, not locally. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sis J. I'm going to leave the last masquerade last. That's the biggest masquerade. I'm going this way, and I want my friend and sister and advocate, their names we call her, but she's a powerful woman, both in size and in voice. All the years she spent in the media advocating for women's rights. She's a grandmother, by the way, so just in case. So she's raised wonderful children, ultimately as a single mother. Do you understand? And she's proud and not ashamed to say it. And I am saying this, and I'm asking her to comment to the issue of male allies. A wonderful mother to a wonderful son, right? So I want you to be able to speak to the fact that whatever it is we're saying here, side by side means they have to be allies. So I want you to address that while giving your thoughts on all the stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that occurred to me, and yesterday we were talking about this, is that I think as women, we first of all need to understand who we are. I remember attending a gathering of single mothers, divorcees, and widows. And I have never been so shocked. It was a Christian thing, but here's what I noticed. Two things. Most of the women there felt incomplete and inadequate. Almost all of them were talking about the problems they had with their children. It was like somebody would raise up their hand and say, I don't know what to do about my son. I don't know what to do about my daughter. This person is disrespectful. You know, it was almost all the complaints came from a feeling of inadequacy. I am not enough because either my husband is dead or I'm separated. And it struck me. And then when it came to prayer time, because I was meant to speak, all the prayer points were for husbands. As if once a husband comes, all your problems will go. Because a husband who is not the father to the children brings a new problem. If you yourself do not even understand who you are, it's not going to make the problem go away. It'll actually amplify it and make it bigger. So what I realized is that as women, we first of all need to understand who we are. And I was listening to all of them and I was saying, oh my God, I'm in the wrong room. Because my son cannot, none of my children can talk back to me. I cannot imagine that a child that I raise will talk when I'm talking, except he doesn't want to live long. I know that I am enough. I acknowledge that there is a deficiency. But I also know there were things that when I can't handle, I have male friends, and I say, talk to my son.
So does this speak to the issue of male allies being
Yes,
divided?
so that's what I mean. There are always going to be men. It can be family, it can be friends, it can be any relative around you that you are sure has the same kind of values that you're trying to instill in your children that can provide that. And it is the same thing here. There's no man who is not a product of a woman. There's none. What it means is that even as women, we have male allies. If it's not your mother, it's your sister. If it's not your sister, it's your friend. How are we using it? So I think we need to first of all start with us as women, realizing that there is unity in numbers. I keep saying this because the two sets of people in this country who know what numbers do, Okada riders and tanker drivers. You touch one Okada rider, you know how powerful they are. And as women, we have the numbers to be that impactful, like he said. But we're not using it, both for ourselves and for the men in our surrounding and in our vicinity and in our lives. So yes, there is.
Thank you very much for speaking to the fact that we need to be satisfied first and know ourselves before we move forward. And I believe that Honorable Adebayo understands that. Now, you are sitting right now as the one advocating for inclusion of electoral reforms. It's an opportunity for you to educate us. What the special seats bill seems to be saying is that we should create more seats instead of ensuring that the women get a space in what already exists. Have you had a push or pullback? Is this correct? First of all, is this correct? No, and one of the pushback is the fact that it's going to make bills higher, right? So why are we going that route rather than, giving women the opportunity, maybe using the political arena where parties are indicating that this number must come in? So please educate us on what the status is right now.
Well, thank you so much. You see, we must separate issues. We are in a democracy. Democracy is about numbers. And there are two advocacies. Advocating for appointments. That could be easily legislated. 30% affirmation, 25, 40, whatever we want. That could be done easily without affecting democracy. But when it comes to democracy, elective positions, it's about numbers. In fact, these issues we are talking about is discriminatory. To say give someone advantage in democracy, it's discriminatory. So that's why
against the other side.
The other gender. We have the PWD. We have other people too who are disadvantaged. They can come out and say, well, we want this percentage too. So when we're talking about issues, we don't take it too personal that, oh, it's against us. Men have been trying so much to accommodate. But we say the issues are not about the men. The issues are varies. There are cultural situations, religious situations that are not giving the women what they're asking for. And most of the time, like I said, we are looking at the periphery to be a minister, to be a House of Rep member. The lowest we have talked about here is the House of Assembly. And we have left the grassroots, where should be the breeding ground, training ground. If you want to, it's a different thing to be successful economically, to be a good businesswoman, to be first class in school. Political education is another ball game entirely.
What you're saying that women should be better educated politically.
You must grow through it. You don't go to the school for it. You don't be a PhD political science don't make you a good politician. You must go through the process. You must start. I started as secretary to the local government from the grassroots. So, and I went through my own problems because then I was my early 30s. Then too, they said, "Oh, you
gang
can't."
up? Did you experience gang up?
I was appointed, so it's not about election. So I now wanted to vie for chairman. I said, "No, you've had your own part. You should move away. You should let other people." Well, mine is I need to serve, and I have to go through the process. I went through the process. I got it. I was even the first person to earn a second term. It was difficult. It was like I committed murder. But I didn't give up, and that's why I'm still there today. You don't say, you see, power is never served a la carte. Nobody is going to give it to you. You have to earn it. So when it comes to elective position, don't treat it like appointments. Appointment is what you legislate. So what we are saying now is, women folks, let's start from the grassroots. How do we encourage more councillors? We have about 1,000 constituencies at that level. How many of them are women? It is a female councillor that can become a chairman, that can become a House of Assembly member, even become a governor. Because you can be successful, but to get the crowd behind you, they must know you. They must be able to relate with you. That is what is missing now. We need that woman. That woman that you can say in Nigeria, she's popular around the country. Everybody can relate with her. When Abiola wanted to contest, people said, you don't need to even campaign. I watched one video about 2 days ago when he wanted to start, when someone was telling him that they are trying to talk to him to contest for the presidency. He said, I have so many words. Why do I have to go to this place? They said, you have done the work down. You have done the work in advance. You are trying to convince him to contest. Because these are things that you don't just say, I want to contest today, then I'll become very popular. So I want the women folks to look inward. How do we start from today to encourage younger ones? And the cultural problem is more prominent at that level.
At the lower level?
At the lower level. Because they are young women, young wives. You see, let's be very objective here. I'm a practitioner.
I think he's speaking the truth.
I'm a practitioner. So, how many of us, even you women, will allow your son to marry a young lady who just started their life, maybe in their 20s, and she will now say, I want to be a councillor. I want to go into politics. Excuse me, I'm not talking to you. You as a person. I'm talking to female Nigerians, women, Nigerian mothers.
So, Honorable,
who are not here now,
raised a very valid point that can be discussed. We are going to open the floor. You're going to ask questions.
So
clearly,
let's be very objective.
He's talking about roles And so we are going to when you ask specific questions, we're going to interrogate it. But I wanted Obux to respond to something he said. Please park that one about roles and responsibilities. He won't allow his wife, his son, marry a wife that wants to go to politics. So ask yourself that question. It's very valid, you know. It's a valid question. So, right, you believe it is valid? Yes, go ahead if you want to comment. Go ahead.
It might sound controversial. A lot of times, we let our sentiments and our emotions cloud the objectivity of what we're trying to achieve. I think it's very important if we're trying to, if you have a goal and you're trying to achieve your goals, to leave sentiment aside and let's face the reality. We are talking about 10% of the women who are enlightened, right? That might see it in another way. But you fail to realize that a good portion, about 70% or even more, are ingrained in our traditional and cultural values. That the level of education that they have, even with the level of education they might have, they are still kind of held back or by the cultural values that they were born into, that we're all born into. So women contesting in political offices, right, whether grassroots, whether in the states, whether in the federal government, can be seen, you know, in a funny way. You know, because even for people that are even educated to a high level, men, you know, when they see women doing well, being successful in politics, there's some sort of prejudice against them to say they must have found their way in a funny way. You know, so there's a prejudice against women in politics, which is a situation that we also have to address. And that is why I advocate for a convergence, a conference, right, to encourage women participation in politics, to remove this prejudice, to let them know that they can earn their positions and not that it should be seen as let's give it to them. Because what the Honorable Rep has said today, these seats, there's a danger to these seats that people are not even really looking at. We know what it took for us to ensure that we have 2 women in the Oyo State House of Assembly. Now, if there's a statutory seat for women, it will give even the men or the blowback, right? You know, to say, well, they already have a seat allocated to them. So go and contest for your seats. Leave these other 32 seats.
So the point you're making, it could be counterproductive.
Yes.
Exactly.
So rather than looking for ways to, you know, as the word he said, which I saw that on that corner, they found it offensive, accommodate, right? If we're going to say, okay, yes, we're going to give them a seat, which is discriminatory, as also pointed out, which is the fact, it would be counterproductive because after, you know, the first cycle, they say, okay, House of Reps, women, go to your seats, your reserve seats. House of Assembly, well, go to your reserve seats. And at the end of the day, you know, you even have less women representing, you know, and, you know, we have to guard against this. And I advocate for inspiring women that are interested in politics and building them up. And that is the solution to the problem.
Okay, we're jumping to the solution, but I'm going to come back to that. Because I want to address the question, and I do, please take it seriously, everybody in the hall and those who are listening. I want to address the question of women where they start. Why would a woman be running for Senate? Why not councillor? You know, when you decided, you grew up in Lagos, you decided to go home to Delta State to run for an office. Did this kind of thing work against you, for example? If you had gone there and said, I want to be councillor, would that have been easier for you instead of thinking of House of Rep?
It did work against me to a certain extent because coming home, back to Delta, I was viewed as, oh, Lagos girl. You know, what does she know about the issues at the grassroots? Fortunately for me, I've always been a homebody. So I've always gone home from, even when I was in school abroad, I always went home when I came on holidays. I was always associating with, you know, the people at the grassroots. When I started my NGO, it was back at home. I concentrated all my work, you know, my NGO work, everything was at home. of course, I did some stuff in Lagos, but I concentrated my, educational, service at home, looking after the children, going home, interacting with the market women, and all of that. And fortunately for me, again, because of the name I carry, which is the Hebrew name, it's a household name over there. So that was a plus for me. But yeah, there was still the reservation of she's a Lagos girl who she doesn't know us that well. However, at the point where I decided to enter political space, I felt I was too old to be a councillor. That's number one. I was overly educated to be at that level.
You felt it was wasted to start there?
Yes, it would be a waste. And I had too much knowledge about what was required to go and be a councillor. However, I did encourage a lot of young girls. Fantastic. There was a young lady that was running for chairmanship of my local government, and I encouraged her a whole lot to make sure, try and get elected. Unfortunately, she didn't win, but the traction was wonderful. And now, in the upcoming election for 2027, I've started advocating for young girls in my constituency to rise up, to be councillors, and so they can grow in the space and become councillors, and then local government chairmen, and then aspire to be...
So you buy into this idea?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
we should be, and it also speaks to what Honorable Adebo also said about maybe we should start encouraging women to get into politics early. 100%,
100%. Yes. And again, I'd like to say that it is women that have, women that have the power or the knowledge to encourage and to teach and to guide the younger women to come out, because a lot of the culture, especially in my zone, I'll speak for my zone, the culture in my zone in the past has always been the women don't speak out.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be quiet. You're supposed to be quiet.
It cuts across.
You only speak in the bedroom. You only speak in the bedroom.
In the other room.
When you come out to the living room or to the public, you're quiet. Be quiet. Only the men speak. So we're trying to change that narrative, and hopefully we'll get there.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I think it's at this point I can bring Agatha back on. Agatha, they speak to, because when you talk about quota system, the first thing as a typical accomplished woman is to say, why are we looking for quotas? We don't want tokenism, correct? However, like Dr. Ejiro said, if a race has started and they're already ahead, we must catch up. So what are your thoughts on how this special seats bill can be couched in a way that will encourage qualitative contribution? Some say start with quantity first, right? But we should also consider quality.
So yeah, that was the first thing I was going to say based on some of the things Ejiro said during her lecture. The race already started without you. Whatever you're doing now, you're just trying to catch up. And if you're not giving special consideration, you can't catch up. There's no way you're gonna get to where the others are. I don't believe that they should create extra seats, but I believe that there should be an allocation. Because the reason, when I was listening to them talk, the reason why women shy away from this, it's also because of the background and the culture and the history of how it has always been. It's a men's thing. That is why your husband would not want you to go, because there's a perception. And in order to break that perception, there has to be special considerations. Politicians do not have meetings in the middle of the night. Why is that? Normal people have meetings during the daytime. You're not normal. do you understand?
He doesn't know.
So there are a lot of things. There are a lot of reasons. But if there were more women in those places, these are the issues that will come out.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. These are the issues that will come out. Because contrary to popular belief, the women are carrying a lot more load that they have to juggle.
That's right.
And they do a damn good job of it. And so this will just be an extra thing. So for me, I think that there should be special consideration Because we have already been discriminated against. If you want to add people with disabilities today, you must create a special bill. There's no way they will make it without that.
So we're late starters.
Yes, we're late starters. And so that consideration must be given so that there can be a level playing field. When we are somewhere up there, maybe 35%, maybe whatever percent, then what you're saying can come to play. Then we can start, grassroots having. Is it the 4 women in the Senate that are going to go and bring the 100 or 1,000 something women for grassroots? What? Where? How? It can't work.
So special seats are needed because we have to catch up.
Yes,
but
that's what I think. That's what I think. Yeah. I don't think they should create the seats as in extra. That's
create
where
the opportunities.
I believe that. Yeah.
Okay, I think you should comment to that.
It can only be extra. Because in a democracy,
why
there's
must it
no
be
other
extra?
way. You see, in a democracy, there's no other way you can do it.
Wait, sorry, can I ask a question?
Let me tell you.
I want to ask you a question that I would like you to answer as you speak. Is it normal that initially in the law, how it started, that it was only men that were given the opportunity to
it's
vote
there for everybody.
and be voted for?
The law has never been discriminatory. The law
so it's application of the law. Okay, that's fine. There's no law against it.
The law has never been discriminatory.
No. When we started? I'm talking about when we started.
No.
Okay, can we just get back on course? Okay. What we're saying is, can you give us a better understanding of what exactly we are asking for? Why we need to create more rather than
good because question. You have to look at how you are going to implement whatever law you want to put in place. If you say that you want to give women advantage in the existing situation in parties, do you now say, okay, in Lagos that you have 24 seats of House of Reps, do you now say so local governments should dedicate their own to female?
That's the question we're going to ask our creative solutions.
So that's why you have to create a special seat.
You said that can be possible.
Which local government would now give its own to a woman? You have to be very objective. So you can't take part of the existing one.
Hello.
It has to be created only for women.
Clearly, we hear from politicians the seats already exist. There's an existing organization.
You can take those ones. You are not excluded. You can take any of the 24. You have the right to take any of the 24 if you win. Nobody will discriminate against you not to contest or not to win.
So the simplest thing seems to be now, create this seat and say an extra seat. For example, Lagos becomes 25 instead of 24. Yes? And that new one has to be left for a woman to run for.
Every party must present a woman.
Every party must present one woman. Okay, there'll be more people in the house, so we're going to be spending more money in the short run. However, I wanted, we are going to spend the last 10 minutes actually determining how we can make this bill work. But I want to come to you, Sis J, because you are also in an industry where there is that feeling that people in that industry are, funny. When my wife is an actress, you know what I mean? It's the same that's happening in politics. My wife can be a politician. How do we fight? Because these are all cultural biases, which also are founded on experience. So maybe you should speak to that a little bit. Maybe somehow in this industry, the first runners may give a particular impression.
Thank you so much, Adesua. Yes, there are preconceived ideas about what women, how women behave in any industry. I mean, come on. I mean, we see what happens with the music videos. It's something that amazes me. You see this woman in the music video, half dressed, and the man is so fully dressed. He wears a hat, he wears boots, and coats, and everything. And then the woman is up, and I'm like, how? And it goes back to what I was saying, is that the people who are in control of the storytelling are people who don't understand the power of the stories that they are telling, number one. And they don't understand the nuances of the messages that they are sending. Now, in the political space, there are several issues that I think need to be addressed. Now, if we say to, why did our president not put in place? He was supposed to give us 35%, and we ended up with 17. Okay, thank God. We ended up with 17%. Why? I mean, he's probably making it up for it in appointed, but why was that? Because whether you like it or not, in leadership, it is not only about technocrats, it's also about politics. And politics must be served. So, how many women are supporting women in politics? How many of you are making sure that whoever gets into this position, it is women that have supported that person to come into that position? Am I speaking? So the thing is this, like they say, from the grassroots, we have to support. They must be mentored. It's something that Agatha keeps saying. They must be mentored. We do not want tokenism. We do not want women that are put there by godfathers. We want women who do the work, who understand the work. And it is multifaceted, because we want women in those seats, but that have earned those seats, those extra seats that have been created. And so, some of the things that we are finding offensive are the things that we must include in the stories that we are telling, but interrogate those issues. Why does a family say, I do not want my son's wife to go into politics? Let's interrogate it in our stories. Because when you do that, then the people who are watching get a better understanding of why it is actually very important for my son's wife to get into that position. Because my son's wife will understand why I do not want the borehole in Okokomaiko. I want the borehole near my house. I don't want I don't want you putting the market where where I have to travel. I don't want you putting the health center where I have to go a long journey. I, as a woman, understand those things. My son's wife understands those things. But it is in our storytelling, as writers, as editors, as producers, as directors. The actors you see, they don't have any power. The power they have is their celebrity story, their celebrity status. It is the writers, the producers, the directors. They are the ones with the power, and they are the ones in this room, and they are the ones who have to make a change in the storytelling. Thank you.
Let the stories, no sir, I'm going to give you the opportunity right now. Just give me a moment, because right now we miss a round, or you will comment on it. So as you comment on it, I need you to say, because we need a commitment to what's going to happen to this special seats bill. What are we committing to do? What are we asking that government and our parliamentarians should do to ensure that this seat, at least clearly everybody has spoken here, they're not asking just not for quantity, but also for quality. How do we make that happen? So, sir, you can start and kick off by telling us, making a commitment to ensuring that this bill sees the light of the right way.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like I said, I want to make mine as a rider to what Auntie just said, because you don't know the powers of communication, especially through the social media and the performing artists too. What you communicate to the people, your programs, your titles, the things you bring on board. And what we are trying to do this time around, I realized that most of the time, even when we create the opportunities, we do the bills, there's very little communication. People don't really get the message. And we are trying to use this time around to use the performing artists, because if you do some of these things in dramas, in tapes, people get to understand more. Most of the times, just put them in the dailies, in the news. People don't really, we only respond to sensational news. But we must pass some of this information, make people understand. Do dramas, do things like that will make sure they understand. In the electoral act, apart from the constitution, even the electoral act, there are lots we are trying to do in the area of inclusion. The essential workers, for example, we want to ensure that we create special early voting for the essential workers, because we've realized that on the day of election, the policemen are not able to vote, the electoral officers are not able to
understand the reason why they have to get behind any woman who stands up for elective office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You've taken a lot of your time, but the bottom line is that the future does not wait for permission. It is built by those who dare to demand it. Today, let us not just talk about change, let us be the ones who make it happen. So as you make your contribution, how can we make this change happen? Special seats bill. Yes, it's great, it's nice to have. We have heard everybody talk about it, it's needed. But the how, based on the conversation here today, is work in progress. It's still work in progress. How do we do it? But quota system to catch up works. So, Sanom, can you please run the comments from the House?
Yes, so my name
Sorry,
is...
you want to make a clarification?
Yes, because after it's passed at the House, both two houses of the National Assembly, then it goes to the states, because the constitutional amendment, it must get two-thirds of the states. That's where the Speaker comes in now. So all the state assemblies must support it. So,
no, but should they support it as it is? So where this contribution here today is to help to see how that special seats bill is carried forward.
Yes, that's what we are saying. Once it passes at the two houses of the National Assembly, it will now get to each state assemblies.
So it's a long journey.
Two-thirds of them must support it. And that's why the advocacy doesn't stop here. You must continue. Everybody gets to their states. You must start this advocacy at the state level. You must hold the assembly accountable at the state level, because if it doesn't pass at the state level and the public hearing too, and that's why we must be careful with our discussion too. Many female believe they don't, it's tokenism to be given. We should stop that position. We should, like we agree now.
How do we stop that? It's educating them that yes, it's not so tokenism.
That, yes, is that take that one first. If you are now saying that no, we are not giving, we shouldn't be given, we should hand it, that means we are saying that that bill we are passing is not worth it.
So take that one first, please.
My name is Ifeoma Favuan. So I agree that this is a measure. This special seat is, to me, a dangerous thing, in the sense that it's just a measure to get somewhere. But why, given that we're in such a crisis in Nigeria, like we're in such a terrible space, why would we not just say, let's build it and they will come? So just place a certain percentage. Maybe you say, we're going to get to 35, but we're starting with 25, or we're starting with 20 positions. Nigerians are in positions of leadership around the world. When you put the 25 and you have to break that 25 or 30, women will come from everywhere. And they will campaign and they will...
No, how will it work is what he's asking.
How will it work? Because we are still trapped in what we know.
Because it's
we need to think critically. We don't need to think about the way it's working now, because it's not working right now. It's not working. That's the truth. Let's first admit that it didn't know the work. When we now know that it's not working, then we say, we're going to create these positions, a certain percentage. When you build it, they will come. Now, you say, it may not be great the first time around, but women will begin to, you will change that culture. Because when it exists, just like now, Nollywood is placed on a global platform, people are calling us and saying, my daughter is in school in Edinburgh, but she would like to be an actress. Can she join Nollywood? So when you create those positions, that 35%, with Nigerians around the entire world, will begin to vie. They will go into that grassroots position you want them to go into as counselors. Young women will begin to go after those positions that exist. But right now, women do not believe that they can get there. They do not believe that you really mean it. When you really mean it, and you are willing to wait for them to grow into that position, they will come. They will apply. After all, I'm not interested in politics, but I can tell you darn well here that I have enough intelligence without any knowledge of politics to surpass many people who are in positions of political power. Right now, as I stand here, I know that there are many women and friends of mine who can do a better job than those that have gone through those training that you're talking about. So remove that training right now. And let us find the women around the world who are Nigerians that are ready to serve, like Amina in UN or Okonjo-Iweala or wherever they are. Let them come, let them try, let them get in.
Thank you, Ifoma. Thank you.
The concession you need to make. Yeah. You're not wrong about the grassroots. You're not wrong. But you need to wait for that grassroots. It's not now. That grassroots is in 10 years. When the women begin to come and the young people say, I want to be president of Nigeria. When young women say, I want to be the president because you know what, I can do a better job than Jagaban. So I want to do it. That's the thing you want to change. So you have to make it possible first. Then you begin to put out schools. If the government is really interested, it will put out schools to teach women and to teach young men and young people how to become proper leaders. That's the way to do it.
Thank you very much.
They will come.
He's clear that when it comes to this, women are emotive, and that's the truth, based on experience. What she's saying is, make 35% work first. Let us score 25 or 30 before we start creating this thing. What others are saying, sir.
That's of appointments.
So let's make it into why, in other parts of the world, some countries, it has been included. Personally, I think we should be speaking to political parties. And I think I have some, some grassroots, okay. Serious. Let the political parties do something about creating a space.
I said, let's have an understanding. Elected position. Hello.
Sorry, thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies.
Hello.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. No, we want the men to work with us. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. I don't think Honorable Adebayo has said anything here that indicates that women are less in terms of intellectual capacity. But he has said we need to go back cultural. Okay, can we do it? Can we make it one at a time? Can we make it one at a time? Thank you, ma'am. We are live, ladies.